It seems that usually coming out of the hardship, the valleys are when the best stories of God's faithfulness come around. You know, they talk about being on earth, I think, catching little glimpses of heaven. And, you know, that glimpse of heaven for me was being at Passion 2024. And the message, or the kind of the theme of the conference, was Call on Heaven. And I didn't know how much 2024 was going to involve that. So we come back. You know, I was just feeling a lot worse. I just couldn't keep any fluids in me. And I was just getting to the point where, like, I don't know. Something was definitely really wrong. We kind of got it, and they started taking tests, and they were like, all right, well, you have the flu. Okay, figured that. They're like, okay, well, you also have strep. Okay. And like, well, you also have pneumonia. They're like, well, it's not just pneumonia, it's double pneumonia. And it's not just double pneumonia, it is 50% blockage in each lung. And they're like, because of how bad the infection is, you're also slightly septic. And they're like, you came in at a great time, because like if you'd come in a few days later, we would have been having a much more serious conversation. There was just one night, I don't even remember what night it was, but I remember I still wasn't kind of fully on the mend yet. And I personally feel like, and I attest to this, I feel like I heard the voice of Satan come to me at night and just tell me to give up, to tell me that it wasn't gonna happen, like you weren't gonna make it, like it wasn't worth trying to fight for it, like you should just give in and give up. And it scared me. It scared me so much. I had my phone by me. And for myself and for the people who know me and see me, I love Christian contemporary music. I think there's so much power in there. And I don't even remember what I was listening to, what I was playing, but I was just like, I just remember in the face saying, you know what I need is I need to feel Christ's power and presence in this room, in this space. For me, I'd say that was a turning point. I don't know what it was, but I just had this extra motivation. I just had this extra drive that was just being like, you're still here, you're still breathing, like God's plan is not done for you. And I was like, I don't know what God's plan is. I don't know how long I'm going to be here in this time of grace that we have, but I know that I am meant to get through this. And, you know, maybe that's part of why I'm here today. To say that, like, you might be fighting through hell, but you're doing it for a reason. And you might not know that reason until you even get to heaven. And then when you get to heaven, you might not even care what the reason was anymore. You probably won't. But to know that there is purpose for the pain. I think it just really helps solidify the main point that's been my wrestling and my faith journey the last few years, of the concept of surrender. You can look back at Old Testament, like going up to the mountain to go sacrifice your own son. You're willing to surrender until God steps in. You talk about people like Paul and Silas being in prison and saying, we're willing to go surrender ourselves for this until God steps in. In a certain standpoint, if it worked out the other way and I didn't make it, you know, there still would have been the stories of God's faithfulness in there and the time that I was able to be on this earth. But I'm thankful that God decided to step in and say, no, you got more stories to share. You got more life to live. You got more experiences to go. You know, we can look at these great heroes of faith and feel inadequate. Your experiences, positive or negative, don't discount you. Ultimately, what God is saying to all of us is that you're loved and you matter. And despite the hardship, to be able to feel that and experience that takes it to another level. You feel a little bit closer to Christ, like when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, just crying out. You're like, I do not see a way out of this. Life is not certain, but there are certainly certainties in life. And as Christians, we have the ultimate certainty that if you believe in Jesus Christ and that he died on the cross and ultimately that he rose, you're gonna be in heaven with him. And I think for myself that was one of those things that I was able to take away from the entire experience, to say, man, life is full of so many uncertainties. And I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know where it's gonna go. But I wanna try to live my life, Romans 1:16, unashamed, to say that, you know, I'm willing to share my story with anyone who's willing and wanting to hear it. I wanna try to be the type of person that people can look at and say, you know, hey, look, here's someone who's a sinner saved by grace, but who's ultimately wrestling on their faith journey, but ultimately still wanting and willing to walk with Jesus on it.